Good morning, Hickory Sunrise.
Good morning.
Please join with me in honoring our country.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
This is Jenny's month and she's not here. Steve, would you?
Absolutely. Let us Lord God, thank you for this day. Thank you, Lord, for this week, Lord. Thank you for this season. We understand the reason for the season. We ask you to bless all those who are around this table, Lord, who has a heart and a mind of service above self. We thank you, we magnify you and glorify you this morning. In Jesus' name. Amen.
All right. Mr. Honeycutt.
Yes, good morning, Rotarians. Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. Good morning. I hope everyone's fine this morning. Good morning, Michael. Good morning. Good morning. All right, several things this morning. Oh, Cindy, excuse me, Nancy. I've got, okay, that calls me. Nancy, bell ringing, she felt sorry for me, bell ringing, and loaned me on Santa's hat. So I will tell you, I appreciate that, and I will pay a fine. And I didn't pass it to Rick.
I know. My head was cold the whole time.
I know. I didn't, because I was directed to look after her hat.
I would have gladly.
Fair
I
enough.
wouldn't pass it.
And what's wrong with that story? We never got the hat either.
I don't know.
And it was raining when we were there.
Yeah, I got my head wet. All right, several announcements we have this morning. Okay.
Got passed over.
All right, I need this gentleman to stand up.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Now, do you have anything to confess to the club or anything you want to share with us?
He lost his razor.
Well, besides losing my razor,
The Hickory paper, is that
I understand the Hickory paper had my picture in it.
Yes, it did.
I don't know why.
Well, I think it was with ticket sales, was it not?
Well, it was a raffle.
Yeah. And you were first place.
Oh, second place. Yeah.
Second.
Oh,
No. All right. Now,
second prize.
But I didn't know that they were going to put my picture in the paper.
Yeah.
No excuse.
here again, you have to determine, see, is that service above self?
What tickets were we selling?
It was a DAV raffle.
Hey, you got compensation for it.
They just raffled as a fundraiser for the DAV.
Only $250.
You got $250, so why would it be service above self if you get compensation?
It's
You
self-service.
got
That's
compensation.
self-service.
All right. Boy, it's tough this morning. All right. Roger, I hate to do this, but I hate to do it.
Whatever it is, it's self-service.
Nobody needs
That's all you
Roger,
getting today.
Roger is very sensitive, and I know. And you walk on edge because I don't want to insult anyone or hurt anyone, but Roger's feelings has been hurt. Last week he had a guest. Okay, now the guest came at 7:30 and placed at 7 o'clock, and there was a lot of question about that. Now, one gentleman over here harassed him, and he is concerned about this. And as a result, he showed me documentation this morning where the memo he sent to President Henshaw was at 7 o'clock. And see, he's got the documentation.
Evidence.
Wait a minute, who has authenticated?
Yep, 7 o'clock.
He's got it. I trust what he's got.
Whoa. What do you mean you trust?
It's on the iPhone.
It's certified by Apple Pay.
I need it all.
My feelings were hurt.
All right. Good.
No.
Michael.
Yes, sir. Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
All right. You have a problem this
I
morning.
do.
All
They have
right.
violated my privacy.
Okay.
The whole 9 yards.
All right.
In my bed this morning, 6 o'clock. Got plenty of time to get up in there.
Yes, sir.
My phone rings. I'm thinking something gone. Get up for Rotary. Get up for Rotary. I said, I'm going. And then that's okay. But then I found out before I walked in the door, everybody else knew about it.
So, who did that? All right. All right.
Actually, I called him and said, this is the front desk, this is your wake-up call.
It wasn't even the truth.
All right. Regina, you have a basic announcement, which is positive. that you gave me this morning. Would you
Yes.
share that, please?
Ron Downs gave me his jar of change, and with that and the little bit of change from last meeting I was here, it was $20, almost $21, so we had $20 from that.
Okay, great. And this goes in the bucket, and that's great. We don't have to count it. We have someone else that does all the counting back there.
Thank you.
And I'll tell you, that is great for us. All right, now, any other confessions that we have this morning? Anything that you want to share with the club? Okay, any comments, anything else? Gosh, okay,
I have
so,
a compliment.
all right.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, we're going positive, I don't know if anyone else got to participate in the community Thanksgiving service last week at LR, but our own Joe Westfall was there and participated with 13 other clergymen in a very ecumenical service that I thought was the highlight of my season and led me right into the Christmas season. So thank you very much. You did a fabulous job.
You are a new member, are you not?
I am.
Your sponsor is, okay, you spent time in Rhodes to make it out. I need $1.
Yeah, that's right. I thought it was.
I got it. I got it.
Okay, all right, it's covered.
Thank you. Wow, thank you.
Steve,
No,
it's
don't
the
go out here,
Wellness
get it
Store.
back. Don't wow.
All right, good deal. That's it this morning.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Toy, you have a guest today.
I do,
Would you
I do.
introduce, please?
So, my guest is Kim Holden, and Kim and I, actually, we were just discussing, we've been friends for 20 years. So, when I moved here in 98, and in 99, she moved across the street from me, so, and we are actually also singing friends. We are in a trio called Trivocal. She's the alto, and I'm the soprano. And we have a
Tenor
second
this morning, maybe bass.
And we have a second soprano that sings with us, and we sing at church and other assorted activities. If anyone wants to have us
Okay.
come sing, we'd be glad to sing for you. And I invited Kim because she works for Catawba County Partnership for Children, and she's worked there for 22 years. So that's a long time. And it is a wonderful organization that has to do for education for children, and I thought that just nicely meshed with our service ideals, and I thought it would be great to hear about her organization, and I thought it would be a wonderful thing to have her come speak to us. So,
Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate that. The first time I spoke to this club, I have high school and college kids now, but the first time I spoke to this club, I had infants. And life is so much easier now. Oh my God, I'm like, oh, this is great. I don't have like stuff all over my shoulder from spit up. Like, it's amazing. It's great. Thank you so much for letting me be here today. I really appreciate it. I'm excited to be here. I did put some books there that we'll talk about in just a minute if y'all want to pass those around and take a look at them if you're welcome to do so. I work for an agency called the Catawba County Partnership for Children. Basically, all of our work associates with children birth to age 5. So it's everything before a child gets to kindergarten. And there's questions sometimes about why that is, because it seems like a lot of people assume that education starts at kindergarten. That's when you start learning and all that stuff. Well, turns out that we expect a lot from these little guys here. While most of the brain cells are formed before birth, all the connections between those brain cells and the strength of the foundation of all of the future learning happens in the first 5 years of life, or a good percentage of it happens in the first 5 years of life. So basically, we're building brains at this stage of life. The brain is the only organ not fully developed at birth. And so we've got that window of opportunity in the first 5 years to make sure that those connections are super strong, and all of that has to do with the positive or negative interactions that child has with the world around him or her. So there's a lot of responsibility in that window of opportunity to make sure that we do everything we need to do for young children so that they are ready to go by the time they get to kindergarten. Here's the real, I'm going to put my notes down because I don't know what's going on. This is how we kind of look at the real continuum of education when it comes to the brain research now, where our focus is on early childhood, and there are research-based connections between the strength of an early childhood education system, how ready a child is to learn by the time they get to kindergarten. There are connections between that readiness factor and then third grade reading proficiency. We know that there are connections between third grade reading proficiency and ultimate graduation rates, and then graduation rates to contributing to society in general. So this is kind of the continuum we focus on, knowing that the most important parts in our minds is really focusing on that early education to make sure those children get the best start possible so that they can successfully go through this continuum. So our agency was started 25 years ago, and I've been there 22 of those years. We're a nonprofit agency. We are considered the hub for early childhood services for Catawba County. We were started here in Catawba County to bring Governor Jim Hunt's Smart Start initiative to the county. Smart Start was a funding stream that the governor started back in 92, 93, really focused on this research where he was saying, okay, we know how important this window of opportunity is in the first 5 years of life, so why don't we invest in those years? And so he started this funding stream called Smart Start. Over a process of 5 years, every county in North Carolina became a Smart Start funding county. So in order to manage that work, each county has what's called a partnership for children, and they're called different things now. But essentially, every county has a partnership with children. Some have since been regionalized, so there's several counties that are with one partnership. So there are 75 local partnerships for children right now that serve all 100 counties in North Carolina with Smart Start funding. So it's a really fantastic, and North Carolina is really considered to be one of the premier states in terms of the early childhood work. I will say because of that funding stream, they're very serious about how we invest our money. All of our programming has to be evidence-based and evidence-informed, and so we're not testing things out, we're doing things that have already been proven to work for young children. So this is sort of the big picture of our agency. We have this Smart Start arm of our work, and that's really why we were started. We have funding that comes down from the state. We are required to raise a 20% match to that funding. So there's a lot of fundraising that goes on here locally. We have a new project, 2001 new, see I'm getting old in this job, called the North Carolina Pre-Kindergarten Program, which was started back in 2001. And a new governor was in office at that time and really valued Smart Start and said, yes, that is really important work. We know we need to focus on the first 5 years. However, we are also seeing a lot of kids who are starting kindergarten who have not had the opportunity to go to pre-K. And the reason why they're not going to pre-K is because they can't afford that. And so that's not a level playing field for all the kindergarten. So he started a program at the time was called More at 4 and has now been changed to be called the North Carolina Pre-Kindergarten Program. We administer that program. And we administer Dolly Parton's Imagination and Library program. So I'll talk a little bit about those programs. The big picture of Smart Start, I think the most interesting part about this funding stream is that each local community can kind of decide what the needs are for local kids. So Catawba County programming with Smart Start might look very different than Alexander County or Burke County programming depending on the needs for kids. Our focus here in Catawba County is about child care quality. We have a high percentage of kids in child care. We have a high percentage of working moms. Affording child care is really, really tricky. Child care can cost more than college, and these are moms and dads that have not had a chance to save for this, right? So we're talking $150, $200 a week for care, being young families trying to afford care and return to work. We focus on parent education, and then we're also very concerned about families knowing how to connect to services. That's the big, you can provide all the services in the world, but if families don't know you're there, they're not going to do any good. So we participate in actually a national system of resource and referral agencies, and that is actually, the work of that is just connecting families to those services, which is the Children's Resource Center. So our local child care resource referral agency that happens to be under the umbrella of the Partnership for Children is called the Children's Resource Center. So if you all know of any families in the community who need to be connected to services, they need child care, they need before and after school for school agers, they need summer camp, they need a parenting class, they want help with potty training or biting, all of those things, there's a kind of a one-stop shop phone number to call. And so we've really tried to make sure that families just have to know that one phone number, and there's a website, childrensresourcecenter.org. They just have to know that one phone number, and then there are actual people there that are trained to help connect families to the services that they need. Here are little NC pre-K kids. So this More at 4 program that started back in 2001 is now called North Carolina Pre-Kindergarten. The Catawba County Partnership for Children, it has been the administration for that program. In some communities, it's the school systems, and here we have 3 school systems, and so at the time, Rick Van Dett was a big part of this process, bringing this program to Catawba County. In fact, we were a pilot county because of your support with Hickory's local schools at the time. We started with 40 kids, I think, the first year of 2001. We have grown since to serve 411 NC pre-K kids in Catawba County every single year. So we're really excited about serving those kids. Mr. Hunt's daughter is a wonderful NC pre-kindergarten teacher, was an NC pre-K teacher, and now is a kindergarten teacher. Really fantastic way to get children who otherwise couldn't afford pre-K into a high-quality pre-kindergarten program. We are really fortunate in Catawba County to have really supportive school systems. Each of our 3 school systems have agreed to provide North Carolina pre-kindergarten programming. They don't have to do that. That's not in the required list of things that they have to provide. They have to do K and up. They, though, all 3 systems have seen the research and know how important it is to have a high-quality pre-kindergarten environment, and they have dedicated classrooms in almost all of their elementary schools, and even at Hickory High, 2 classrooms at Hickory High, to provide NC pre-K for these kids. So it's really wonderful, really fun. And we also have some private child care centers who provide this service. So NC pre-K, we have 411 kiddos who are 4 years old, otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity to go to a pre-K program in 27 different classrooms around the county. If you do the math on that, it looks like there's not very many kids per classroom, but these classrooms are blended, which is really an interesting thing for us. We blend private pay kids and NC pre-K kids, which are free. It's a free program for families. And then exceptional children, children that have been identified with special needs. So all of those children are blended together in a classroom. So it looks very much like a kindergarten classroom would feel, with lots of different kinds of children together. So all of those 411, I think, in total in NC pre-K classrooms, it's like 475 kids who participate. And that third tier of our work is Imagination Library. I will say that through our work with Smart Start, we have, for example, a parenting program where we have parent educators that go out into the home and do parent education with families. They were coming back to us saying that things are going really well, we really appreciate this work. However, when we're out in families' homes, the thing that we're identifying is that there are no children's homes in these households. Not children's homes, children's books in these households. So there's not a book, there's not a magazine, there's no printed material that these children are being exposed to early. And this was in the middle of I should mention, the Smart Start world. We had about a 50% cut in budget, maybe back in 2008, I guess. And so it was a time where we really were struggling with funding and couldn't figure out how to manage the stuff we already had going. We had to cut several programs. But yet they kept on coming back to us to say, we're seeing this as a need. And I thought, you know what, this is something we should be able to manage. So we started looking for different strategies to address this. And how do we get books in the hands of kids? How do you get a reasonably efficient program to give books to kids? And found Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program at that time. Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program is wonderful. It basically mails every enrolled child a free age-appropriate book every month until they turn 5 years of age. So when they're babies, they get board books, which are some examples running around here. And then as they get a little bit older, they get the hardback books. And then as they get older, they get the softback books. But they're wonderful titles. They're popular books. The most important thing for the kids is that when it comes in the mail, it's got their name on it and it's their book to keep. So they can build their home libraries. I had a question one time about what do they do with the books when they're done? Does anyone know the answer to that? Anyone who has kids? They read it about 500 more times. Right? So I mean, this is not a one and done reading situation. Kids love to own books and they will read them over and over and over again. So this program has been extraordinary. The wonderful part about being part of the Dollywood Foundation, who created this program, is that they supplement the cost of the books. So while it's free for families, any family can participate as long as you've got a child from birth to age 5. Our local cost of the Partnership for Children is only like $2.10 per book. So, and that includes postage. So that's the book and postage going to the child's home, which is extraordinary. So we've been really excited to bring that program to Catawba County. We started it in 2011. We have grown to serve over 5,100 kids every month receive a book in the mail in Catawba County, which is pretty extraordinary. And just to give you context, there are about 9,000 kids in Catawba County birth to age up to age 5, and about 10,000 before kindergarten. So we're getting right there at 60% of the children in Catawba County who are receiving books in the mail. We survey families that participate in Imagination Library every year, and they report, like I think it's 87% report that they are reading more often to their children because of receiving these books in the mail. Mostly because kid gets books and demands, you must read me this book today, you know. And so they're like, okay, well that's something, a new energy in the house around reading that we didn't identify before. And the other really great part is that children are more excited about books and reading because of participating with Imagination Library. So we were really excited to bring that to Catawba County in 2011. The effort sort of took speed over the last few years, and the state of North Carolina has decided that they want the Dolly Parton's Imagination Library program to go statewide, which is extraordinary. So Smart Start funding is now helping us to keep Imagination Library in all counties across North Carolina. So we have our part to play locally in raising money, and then Smart Start plays a role, and then the Dollywood Foundation puts in the vast majority of the funding to make it work. There's some little kiddos reading one of their books. And I will say for us, we have, early childhood is a multifaceted world, right? We've got health issues, we have safety issues, we have child care, we have parenting. We also, and then we have this early literacy piece. It's actually a really huge indicator for ultimate academic success. So we know we need to focus on this, but talking about having books in the home and having Imagination Library in Catawba County has been a really good springboard for us to talk about early literacy in lots of different ways. So we started some campaigns and working really closely with our 2 library systems, where they're like, we've got books here. The problem is a lot of families without transportation can't get to the library. So that's why in the first 5 years, it's great to send them to the homes, and then they have access to school libraries when they get to school and that kind of thing. But just trying to communicate with young families why it's important to read to young children. And actually, what are the 5 fundamentals of early literacy was not just reading to kids, that's one of them. It's talking with your child, having interaction, having face-to-face, having them understand what you're saying and being paid attention to. Singing with your child. I mean, all they need to do is come to a trivocal concert, we'll be good to go. But that's really important for building all of those, the brain structure that ultimately results in high reading scores. Reading to your child, helping them practice writing, just using fine motor, right, with crayons or a wooden spoon or whatever, just to start practicing. That's really important for ultimate literacy skills. And then playing with your child. There's a whole art around how do you play with a child to make sure there's an intentional play, which is what you'll see when you go to an NC pre-K classroom. It looks like they're playing, right? It looks like chaos, but it's actually very intentional about how they do this work with children because children learn while they're playing. So it's been fun to kind of start to get these 5 fundamentals of early literacy out there and having this close relationship with our library systems. And another really cool thing that you'll start seeing around Catawba County is these little free libraries, which I noticed one out there by the bear, which is great. I drive by that all the time. And this was not done by the Partnership for Children, but I wanted to give a shout out to the Catawba County Leadership Academy. It's a group of, I think, 8 or 10 folks who are identified with county government, and they participate in what's called a Catawba County Leadership Academy for, I think it's a year. But they have to pick a project. Over the course of this leadership development work, they pick a project like a philanthropy. And ultimately, they decided that they wanted to put up little free libraries across Catawba County, specifically with children's books in them. So they came to us and said, we've got this idea, and we thought this has been something we've talked about forever, but this is not something we had taken on yet. They raised the funds to put up 12 little free libraries across Catawba County. They took all of the names of the addresses of the families that were currently participating in Imagination Library and mapped them on a Catawba County map, identified the places where there were lower saturation rates of children participating in Imagination Library, and put the little libraries up there. So in those little libraries there are Imagination Library books with flyers in there about how to enroll in Imagination Library. So we're really excited. They just started in October, and I can already see that our numbers are going up with Imagination Library registration. So I think we're getting out there. They're in parks, they're at grocery stores, or at the Walmart. It's been really wonderful. And I'll say that they were responsible for getting these books up, and then we're responsible for keeping them filled with books. So if any of you have children's books, old books sitting around that you're not using anymore, I would love to take those and put those in a little free library. I would also like to celebrate the Hickory Post Office and the Newton Post Office. They don't have to do this, but when a Imagination Library book is considered undeliverable, a family moves and hasn't updated an address or whatnot, it's considered a periodical, so they should discard the book at the post office. And when we heard that, we were just like heartbroken, like you can't be throwing out books, that's crazy. They put the books aside for us, and every month we go to the post office and pick up the bin of books of kids that haven't been, that have moved in the meantime, and then we take their little name off of it and put a little sticker on it, and those are the books that are going to be feeding the Imagination Library, the Little Free Library. So we're really excited about that, and that doesn't happen in all communities, that's really special for Catawba County. I just wanted you to see these because the Catawba County Leadership Academy employed several volunteers to paint these boxes in child-friendly pictures. There was like a Dr. Seuss one. We've got a space-themed one that's out in front of our building at the Partnership for Children. But they did a beautiful job. Hopefully you'll see them around town, and it's just a really fun way to emphasize books and reading to young kids. So the big picture for our agency, we're now at our 25th year, so we're just now projecting, okay, what are the next 25 going to look like? Our job is to keep early childhood, the system strong, and programming strong in Catawba County. We've struggled a bit with funding, honestly, over the years. I mean, it's been tough with being primarily state funded, and so we've had to kind of ebb and flow through that. But we've had wonderful support from our community to keep programs like the Imagination Library going. We are charged with coordinating early childhood programs, figuring out what the gaps are, and making sure that we address those gaps, and also avoiding duplication. There are a lot of players in the early childhood field, right? We have a lot of different people that we coordinate with. Most of the work we do is actually contracted to another agency, which is kind of different for Catawba County too. We didn't want to own all the programs. We didn't want to kind of work in a silo and do it all ourselves. Our job is to find out who does the work best and give them the money to do it, and they will do the work on our behalf. And then we work together as a team to make sure we're meeting the needs. So that's sort of our philosophy about it. So for example, with our Parents as Teachers program, which is that in-home parent education program that was telling us that kids needed books, that's actually a project of Hickory Public Schools. Hickory Public Schools said, this is outside of our typical work, but we really see the value in making sure that young kids have really good services before they get to kindergarten. So they're going to invest in making sure that program happens for the county. So really fortunate to have their support. Social services, public health, all have projects that are Smart Start funded, and we work with them to make sure that those things happen. So a big part of our work is kind of connecting all the dots for folks and making sure that we're meeting the needs. And then another big part is making sure the community knows about the importance of early childhood, where it's not necessarily something we've talked about for many years. I mean, Smart Start's only been here 25. I will say in the last 10 or so, more folks have heard about the importance of early childhood and realize how important those first 5 years are. But that's our job, to make sure that folks understand that we need to be providing services to young children. To that end, has anyone in this room seen the documentary Resilience? It is a wonderful 1-hour documentary that is all about, it's called The Resilience, the Biology of Stress and the Science of Hope. It basically refers to a study that was done that looked at health outcomes for children who had had significant stress in their first 5 years of life, what they call toxic stress. So it's not like the regular stress where you're upset and then you calm down, and then you're upset and you calm down. Toxic stress is where they live in a constant state of stress, where they have violence in their home, there is drug abuse in their home, there was a lot of fighting in their home. They see this, so you never have that downtime, you're always kind of up. Well, if these young children, during all of this time of really important brain development, are always in that state of stress, it actually affects their health outcomes, dramatically. So there's a wonderful documentary that we've been doing screenings of across Catawba County that talks about this impact of toxic stress and then how to mitigate the effects of toxic stress. And that is all about having a supportive, nurturing relationship with the kid. So that's where teachers play a role, community members play a role, churches play a role. neighbors play a role. And so it kind of engages all of us in this work to make sure that young children are taken care of and not living in these really super stressful circumstances. So if anyone is interested in a screening of resilience, it takes about an hour and a half with a little bit of facilitated conversation. Dr. Gail Summer, who used to be a professor here at the Marine, and she was in Virginia teaching at a university for about 10 years and has come back here. We're so lucky to have her because she was over the birth to kindergarten program at the Marine back in the day, and she was on the planning committee for Smart Start back in the original days. She has come back to work with us and is doing these facilitated conversations around resilience. So it's about a 90-minute window, if you can find that, and in one group, and she can come and do the screening for you and then have a really good conversation about how we can all play a role in making the community better for our kids. And then, this is just because Nancy asked, otherwise I wasn't going to put it in here. But so, and part of our fundraising is during the holidays, we will send out holiday cards on your behalf to your loved ones. And I brought some examples of the cards. And so we send a card and a bookmark that has Imagination Library stuff on it, and then a little information about Imagination Library. But if anyone is interested in holiday cards, they can go to our website at catawbakids.com, or you can just email me. There's no set price per card, so whatever you want to pay is fine, and we'll be happy to send them on your behalf to your friends and family. Last but not least, have I mentioned it's our 25th anniversary? We are excited to be celebrating our 25th anniversary next Thursday. It's just a drop-in open house at our office. We are, if you know where Dos Amigos is, on 4th, kind of going towards 70 out of downtown Hickory. We're right across the street from that, near Gordon Hassel and Compounding Pharmacy and Charlotte and that little strip. Would love to see you there. Stop in anytime from 4 to 6 next Thursday, and we'll be celebrating the 25 years of the Partnership for Children. And that's me. So if you all need anything, if you know of families who need to be connected to Imagination Library or Children's Resource Center, who need childcare, please reach out to us. We are happy to connect families. And I will say too, just as a shout out to Dr. Wimberly, he managed a dental health program for the partnership. Gosh, how many years ago was that? Did you? Yeah. Providing dental health services to children that wouldn't otherwise have access, which is a wonderful effort. That was partially Smart Start funded and otherwise supported by public health back but before the big downturn. But we appreciate your work very much. You made a big difference in this community and continue to make.
Do we know what our current 0 to 5 year census is in this county that is in the program, or could be?
For specifically birth to 5?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are about 10,000 birth through kindergarten children in Catawba County. About 60% participate in some sort of child care program. About 50% attend a pre-K program. So we know there's a big group of kids there that are not going to pre-K that we still need to reach out and serve.
Do the hospital birthing suites refer people to you?
They do. Thank you for mentioning that. In fact, there are, let's see what I did with our magnets. There are yellow magnets somewhere. Is it right here? Indeed, yes. I brought those just as an example, and you're welcome to take those. The hospital, especially Catawba Valley Medical Center, because they do most of the birthing there, as Dr. Toyn is, they are wonderful about sharing information with new moms. And so when folks give birth at Catawba, they get a bag of information that actually was constructed by the Catawba County Library. And they've allowed us to put information in there, including Imagination Library. So we get a lot of Imagination Library enrollments based on the hospital, and also a lot of pediatricians across the county too. So thanks, good question.
You have to know, seeing that statistic of finding at-risk 4-year-olds
Oh man,
rings with people who've taught the at-risk kids.
yes, indeed. And I will say it's that's the trickiest part of our work, is finding families out there that need services that don't know that we exist, right? Because they're not already coming to a school. There's no captive audience where they all go. So we have to go and try to find them through social services and public health and through the birthing centers and try to connect with families. So if you all have any other ideas for how to reach families that might not otherwise know about us, we are open to it, because that's a really big part of our work.
Are you finding resistant parent teams, like, I didn't have it, why does he need it?
Not so much anymore, yeah. I think 20 years ago it felt different. I think it was like, just pull yourself up by the bootstraps kind of world, that kind of thing. Now I think people are getting that it's important to connect to services a lot more. We don't get nearly as much resistance. I would say the biggest challenge for participating in a program like the North Carolina pre-kindergarten program is transportation. It does not provide transportation, and so families are responsible for getting that child to the classroom. And thanks to our school systems, we have lots of great locations that are relatively close to anybody in particular, but still requires driving. So we've worked really hard with neighbors, taking kids, and trying to figure out some different ways of making that happen. But that is a real challenge. Sorry.
Have you connected with local churches?
Yes, thank you for asking that. We could do more, and we need to do more. We just did a really interesting trauma-informed faith community training for local churches. And so just educating, bless you, educating everybody about the role of churches and kind of giving them some tools for how to work with families that they might identify that have special, have some needs. But I'm open to ideas about that too, because I really feel like everyone needs to be singing the same song about making sure that children get connected to services. And if they can hear it at the churches, I think that that's a really powerful message. So any way that you could suggest that we could do that, I'll be open to for sure.
How's your 25-year plan coming?
Oh, it's a solid. We, say that, it's a benefit that I've kind of been around the 22 of the 25 and can kind of see where we've been and where we're going. But it's also overwhelming because there's so much work to be done. And we only continue to learn more about how important these first 5 years are, that I feel like we're doing this all the time. Like we can do more, we need to be doing more. So it's just an ongoing thing. And we have a new crop of babies every year, right? This is not a one and done job. So we just have to keep plugging away and 1 year at a time.
Any other questions for Kim?
Thank you, Kim. Thanks, you all. I appreciate it.
Well, Kim,
Oh, you too. Thank you. I appreciate you.
we go back a ways.
Indeed.
Think about the 25 years ago and things. When I first became principal of Longview Elementary School, we had the Smart Start program in the school. It was the only Smart Start program, I think, at that time. And mentioning Gail, with Kim and Gail teaching me and bringing me along, we began to expand the preschool program in Hickory schools. And it's amazing.
It continues to thrive.
What's
Yeah.
happening all the time. We have a little gift for you. It's a coaster that's made by our own Wayne Honeycutt. And every once in a while, when you put your drink on it, you can be thinking.
I'll be happy to. Thank you
Let's
so
get a
much.
picture of you.
All right, great. Is that a winner? My kids would be like, I gotta see it. Is it Facebook worthy? I will. Thank you.
She didn't say that to Rick.
Rick looks like Rick.
She can crop me out of the picture.
Rick knows he looks good.
Just a couple of announcements. Richard?
I've got just one announcement, just to make everybody aware. Next month, and I think it's the 4th Saturday of the month, is when we're gonna take all Jake's money. And we're gonna do the Feed the Needy and the homeless. So that's gonna be next month. I think it's the 4th Saturday.
It would be the
So-
25th.
So everybody brings a crock pot of soup, and then we make sandwiches. We'll have chips. We'll have things to give away, hopefully for them for socks and those kind of things. So that's coming up next month. So
We ought to have one of those library boxes there for the kids to look at.
yeah. So anyway, just want you aware of that's what's going to happen next month.
And for those of you new to the club, it's at Christ Lutheran Church on a Saturday morning, and it is a very rewarding day for us out there.
Usually about 150 usually
Yeah,
come
around
through that we feed and that we give socks to and we give blankets to, and that's part of that money. That's where that. So when you don't give on Wednesday, you always give next time. So, but that's what that money's for. That feeds them and gives them all the things they need.
Thank you, Richard, and thanks to everybody who donates to the fund each year. When you show up there, you see where the money goes, and it's pretty good. Steve?
Two things. I let it slip, and I guess the rest of us did too. We let our 19th anniversary slip.
We did.
We chartered 19 years ago, November 27th, this club. And I still think we need to do something.
The 20th is coming up.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we need, you're right.
So
For
we need to
next
be-
year.
If we don't do anything for 19, we need to be thinking of doing something really nice for our 20th
Yeah.
anniversary.
No, yeah, very special. And in fact, I think a little committee of 3 or 4 folks could be planning and thinking
Absolutely.
what we could do, where and when, and so on and so forth.
And if somebody does like this in the process, don't you think they need to be on a committee?
Dr. Toy said she would head it.
What
And I'll be glad to be a
Rotary
part
Club
of
does Kim belong to?
I do not belong to Rotary.
Yeah.
We are unique.
I love this group.
Yeah.
She was mentioning that her children are getting older and she could.
Yeah.
My mom was like a real person at 7 a.m.
Yes.
Now's the time.
You saw that much, didn't you?
And
You just saw that much.
And number 2, Rick, I think when you've had the brick for a week,
Yeah.
you need to pay $5.
For a week.
That's steep, Steve.
Okay, all right, you need to pay, okay, one buck.
And just
Okay.
remember who's gonna get it next.
But my point
You
being,
might have
the
a
whole
little
reason,
Hey, you don't have a point.
the whole reason you have the break is to make sure you bring
And have a
somebody.
little bit of incentive to bring a guest.
Yes,
See?
yes, not
Yeah.
to
I'm not
live,
an incentive, I
not,
just haven't got him yet.
not to live with the brick forever. And I don't want him to have it to our 20th anniversary. No, I'm not speaking, Richard has the brick, I'm sorry, I forgot.
I know you're sorry.
So as soon as Richard brings a guest in, he'll give up the brick.
I will, thank you.
All right. Phil, did you have something?
I was going to ask Richard to talk a little bit about the timing for the event at your church. What time do we show up?
We usually show up at about 9 o'clock, usually, and usually that 9 o'clock is just to get things sort of organized, and we have to make sandwiches in, which we usually get ham and bologna and peanut butter and jelly, and so we make sandwiches,
Pimento
get all that
cheese.
stuff ready.
Not all on the same sandwich.
No, yes. But then people bring their soup, and some of them needs to be heated with the stove, and so we do that to get it all ready, get the drinks and stuff ready, and sometimes we have to sort out some of the socks, and some of the church people help too with allocating socks and hats and blankets and whatever that is to give to the homeless people. So yeah, it's about 9 o'clock we usually start. We feed at about, I think it is 11:30, and then we're finished serving at about 12:30, and then we'll clean up and go home. And what a wonderful day it is to be able to help those that need it.
Are more volunteers needed? Could more be used?
Yes.
More could be used, yes, yes.
Richard, are we allowing him to sit down and eat? I don't remember.
Well, what we generally do in the past is we let a certain amount of people in, weather permitting, because there are only so many tables there that, and sectioned off where the clothes are, not clothes, but where the hats are and the socks are. And we also, I forgot to mention, we also get a bag of toiletry for everybody. And in addition to that, we give every family a bag of food. And what we do is we go Aldi's or someplace, buy food that they can open the cans up, pop-top cans, and we give them a bag of food. Flowers gives us all loaves of bread, so we put bread in there as well. And so every family gets a bag of food. That's usually done, the church usually does that and sorts all that stuff out and puts it, the youth at our church does that and usually load them up. So there's people that need to allocate those to families. But they usually let maybe 25 to 30 in at a time. Let them eat, let them go through and get the stuff that they need and go out and then bring another one in, weather permitting. If it's been raining or difficult, then we just try to bring as many people in as we can. So that's how it usually works. It's a great time to help the community in those
Thank
So
you.
there's a lot of work, and the answer to the question, yes, there is some possibilities for some help in that.
You know, if the partnership had a family unit they knew didn't have transportation, we could drop a bag or two off too.
That's one of our most rewarding service projects throughout the year. And speaking of service projects, we alluded to it earlier, but the bell ringing last Saturday, thanks to all of you who were able to spend some time, and a little shout out to Jim. Somebody was telling me, and Ron Leach was telling me, that Jim had signed up for 2 hours and was asking for more. And thank you, Jim.
And was dancing when we got there. So, I mean, he was enjoying himself.
About that time, I was getting wet. How late did you guys stay?
6.
Till 6?
Yeah.
Another project coming up, most of us get involved in every year, is Rise Against Hunger, and that'll be March 21st, and I'll keep telling you about that, and I'm meeting with Bill Lair soon to talk about projects and things of that nature, and he's heading it up from the Lake Hickory Rotary Club, and we'll just get more information out to you. And that's other things that I have I can put in my memo to you. Anything else for the
Bill Blair's a nice guy to get to know in case any of you don't appreciate history. His uncle was a founder of Rotary.
one of the 4 founders, last name is Lair.
Wow.
And traces straight down to Bill. Jim?
Yes. Do we get an estimate on how much money we collected last Saturday?
No, but Ron will get that for us.
Okay.
So next time Ron is here, he may have that information. It usually takes a while. The Salvation Army totals up what every group did
Right.
throughout the county and gets the information out eventually. Steve?
Of the things we think, say, or do.
Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?